Sierra Nevada, October 1883. A stagecoach groans up a mountain road that should not exist. Inside, a young woman in a torn red dress presses her gloved hand against the cold glass. She is 3,000 miles from home. She is carrying everything she owns in a single carpet bag. And below her in a valley she has never seen, a man she has never met is waiting at the bottom of that road. What she does not know, what no one has told her, what the advertisement on the church bulletin board could never have warned her about, is that the man at the bottom of that road is not alone, that a Boston banker in a black carriage has already sent someone after her, that the 40-year-old book in her lap holds a secret her father died to protect, and that this mountain remembers everything. The stagecoach groaned as it crested the final ridge. Adelaide Ashbury pressed her gloved hand against the window, just to steady herself, just to breathe. Below her, the valley opened like a wound in the earth. Pine trees, granite cliffs, a thin ribbon of smoke rising from somewhere in the trees. Sierra Nevada, California, October 1883, 3,000 miles from Boston. 3,000 miles from everything she had ever known, and only one man waiting for her at the bottom of that road, or so she believed. The driver shouted something to the horses. The coach lurched. Adelaide gripped her carpet bag tighter against her chest. Inside it, wrapped in muslin, was her mother's old volume of Shakespeare. The pages soft from 40 years of reading. The leather cover cracked at the spine. It was the only thing she had left of home. Boston felt like another life now, a life she had buried in the spring. She closed her eyes, just for a moment, and the memories came rushing back, uninvited, cruel. Boston 3 months earlier. The bookshop on Beacon Street smelled of old leather and pipe smoke. Adelaide knew every shelf, every spine, every loose floorboard that creaked when she walked. She had been there since her father died. Dr. Edmund Ashbury, quiet man, steady hands. He had been a surgeon during the war years before, and he had come home different, slower, sadder. But he had built a small practice in Boston. He had raised Adelaide alone after her mother passed when she was 9. And then last winter he was gone too. Pneumonia, the official report said. But Adelaide had her doubts, because the day before he died, her father had been writing a letter. A long letter. He had told her to fetch ink 3 times. He had been pale, agitated. When she came home that evening, the letter was gone. Her father was in bed. He could barely speak. He squeezed her hand. He whispered something she could not understand. And then he was gone. The debts came next. Her father had owed money to a man named Cornelius Thorne. Thorne was 60 years old, a railroad baron, a banker, a man who collected things, including women, the whisper said. He came to the funeral, stood at the back, watched her with eyes that did not blink. A week later, he sent a carriage, black lacquer, brass fittings. The driver did not speak, only handed her a card. The card said, dinner. 8 o'clock, bring your coat. She went because she had nothing. Thorne sat at the head of a long table in a dining room that could have held 40 people. 2 candles burned. A servant poured wine. Your father owed me $12,000, Thorne said. He did not look at her when he said it. $12,000. It was a number that did not feel real. I cannot pay that, Adelaide whispered. No, Thorne said. You cannot. He cut his roast beef slowly, methodically, like a man performing surgery. But there is a way, he continued. I am a widower. I require a wife. You are young. You are presentable. You will marry me. The debt will be forgiven. You will live in this house. You will want for nothing. He looked up then. His eyes were the color of old slate. Adelaide felt something cold crawl up her spine, because in that moment a serving boy dropped a fork. Just a small clatter on the marble floor. And Thorne's hand moved. Quick, sharp. He struck the boy across the face. Hard. The boy fell. Thorne returned to his roast beef, as if nothing had happened. Well, Miss Ashbury, he said. Adelaide stood up. Her legs shook. Her voice did not. I would rather starve, Mr. Thorne. She walked out into the snow. She walked the 3 miles back to her boarding house. She did not cry until she closed her bedroom door. She did not know then that she had just signed her own death warrant. The next morning, the bookshop owner told her not to come back. The week after, no boarding house in Boston would rent to her. No millinery would take her on. No school would let her teach. Thorne had a long arm and a longer memory. By August, she was sleeping in a church basement, eating bread crusts donated by the rectory cook. She had sold her mother's pearl earrings, her father's pocket watch, her good wool coat. All she had left was the Shakespeare and one dress and her mother's wedding ring on a chain around her neck. Then she saw the advertisement, pinned to the church bulletin board, yellowed at the edges, folded once. Wife wanted, Sierra Nevada rancher, respectable man, will provide passage, correspond Theodore Ravenscroft, Pine Hollow, California. She took it down. She read it 5 times. She wrote that night. 3 weeks later, a letter came back. 3 sentences, written in a careful, sloping hand. I need a decent wife. I will treat you with respect. You will be safe. That was all. No promises of love, no flowery words, no lies. She wept when she read it, because for the first time in months, someone had spoken to her like she was a person. She used the last of her savings to telegram her acceptance. Theodore Ravenscroft sent her train fare 2 weeks later. No questions asked. And so she had come west, through Chicago, through Omaha, through Cheyenne and Salt Lake City in the long brown desert of Nevada, by rail, by stagecoach, by the grace of strangers and the kindness of conductors. And now she was here. The coach jolted. Adelaide opened her eyes. Pine Hollow, California. Population 274 according to the wooden sign at the edge of town. She watched the building slide past the window. A general store, a blacksmith, a small white church with a crooked steeple, a saloon with 3 horses tied out front. It was not Boston. It was not anything like Boston. The coach pulled up in front of the post office. The driver climbed down. He opened her door. Pine Hollow, ma'am. She stepped down. The first thing she noticed was the silence. Not true silence. There were sounds, a blacksmith's hammer somewhere, a dog barking, wind in the pines, but it was a deep silence, the kind that has weight to it, the kind a person could fall into. The second thing she noticed was the man. He was standing across the dusty street beside a wagon. Tall, so tall, 6'4" at least, broad shoulders under a faded brown coat, a dark beard neatly trimmed, a hat pulled low over his eyes. He was watching her. He did not move. She straightened her bonnet. She lifted her chin. She crossed the street. He pulled the hat off as she approached. He held it against his chest like a man at a funeral. Miss Ashbury, his voice was low, rough, like gravel turned slowly. Mr. Ravenscroft? He nodded once, up close. His eyes were the color of a winter sky, pale gray, long lashes, lines at the corners from squinting against sun and wind. He did not look 30 years old. He looked like a man who had lived 2 lifetimes. Theodore, he said. Theo, if you would. Adelaide. Della, if you would. A small thing passed over his face, not quite a smile, something gentler. He reached for her carpet bag. She did not let go. He noticed. He did not pull. It is my mother's, she said. I will be careful with it. She gave it to him. He stowed it in the wagon bed. He helped her up to the seat. His hand was calloused, enormous, warm even through her glove. He climbed up beside her. He clicked his tongue. The horses moved. They rode in silence for the first mile. The town fell away behind them. The road climbed. The pines closed in. Della's heart was hammering. She did not know what to say. She had imagined this moment 100 times on the long journey west. She had practiced sentences, greetings, pleasantries. All of them were gone now. The wagon swayed. Theo's shoulder brushed hers. He shifted away, carefully. How was the journey, he asked. Long, I imagine. Silence. A jay screamed in the trees. Della jumped. Stellar's jay, Theo said. Loud devil, mostly noise. We do not have those in Boston. No, Theo said. I imagine not. More silence. Della clenched her hands in her lap. Then Theo said quietly, Miss Ashbury, there is something I should tell you before we get to the homestead. Something I should have written in the letter, but I could not figure out how. Della's stomach dropped, because there it was, the thing she had been dreading. The lie, the trick, the trap. Always a trap. She turned to look at him. Her face was very still. Tell me, she said. Theo did not look at her. He kept his eyes on the road. His knuckles were white on the reins. I do not live alone, he said. Della stopped breathing. I have 2 brothers. They live with me. They have lived with me since our parents died. I was 12. Ambrose was 13. Beauregard was 6. She did not speak. Our father was killed in a logging accident. Our mother caught fever the following winter. There was no one else. We had an uncle in Sacramento, but he would not take all 3, so I kept us together. I worked. I built the cabin myself when I was 15. We have been there ever since. Della's mouth was dry. You will be my wife, Theo said. Lawfully. Before God, I am the only one you have any obligation to, but you will live in a house with 3 men, and I needed you to know before we got to the door. Della stared at him. The horses plodded on. The pines watched. She thought for one wild moment of demanding to be taken back to town, back to the coach, back to the train, back to Boston. But there was no back. There was no Boston. There was only this road and this man and whatever waited at the end of it. She breathed in. She breathed out. Why did you not write it, she asked. Her voice was steadier than she expected. Because Theo said, I have written this advertisement 4 times in 2 years. 4 women answered. 3 never wrote back after I told them about my brothers. The 4th came as far as Sacramento and turned around. He paused. I needed help, he said. I needed someone. And I did not know how to say it in a letter that would not scare you off. Della was quiet for a long time. Then she said, what are their names? Theo glanced at her. There was something raw in his eyes, something close to hope. Ambrose, he said. He is 30, quiet. He keeps to himself mostly. He went to war when he was young. He came back different. Be patient with him. And the other. Beauregard. Beau. He is your age. 23. He laughs at everything. He talks too much. He will love you within 10 minutes. Della almost smiled. Almost. You should know, Theo continued, that they will not touch you. Either of them. I have spoken to them. They understand. The arrangement is between you and me. They are your brothers now, nothing more. He looked at her then, full on, his pale gray eyes steady. You are safe in my house, Della Ashbury. I swear it on my mother's grave. She believed him. She did not know why, but she did. She nodded. The wagon rolled on. The cabin appeared as they came around the final bend. It was not what she expected. She had braced herself for a shack, a lean-to, a hovel. What she saw was a 2-story log house. Solid, well-kept. A porch ran along the front. Smoke rose from a stone chimney. A barn stood off to the side twice the size of the house. Beyond it, a corral. Beyond that, more pines climbing the slope into the mountains. There were flowers in a window box, late chrysanthemums, yellow and rust red. Flowers, a house with men in it, and there were flowers. Della pressed her hand against her mouth. The door of the cabin opened. 2 men stepped out onto the porch. The taller one was lean, dark-haired, beard close trimmed. He moved like a man who was always listening to something far away. His eyes were the same gray as Theo's, but darker. Storm gray. He had a long scar running from his temple to his jaw. He did not wave. He did not smile. He just watched. The other was shorter, sandy-haired, wide grin already on his face. He was practically vibrating with energy. He waved both arms over his head like she was a ship coming into harbor. "Welcome," the Sandy one called. "Welcome, welcome, welcome." Theo sighed. "That is Bo." I gathered. The wagon stopped at the porch steps. Bo bounded down to meet them. He had a smudge of flour on his cheek. He grinned at her so wide she could see all his teeth. "Miss Ashbury, welcome to the Ravenscroft place. I made biscuits. I burned the first batch. The second batch is acceptable." "I hope you like biscuits." "I do," Della said. Her voice came out small. "Excellent. Outstanding. Theo, what are you waiting for? Help her down." Theo was already moving. He came around the wagon and lifted her down, his hands at her waist. Brief, respectful. He set her on the ground and stepped back immediately. Bo seized her carpet bag from the wagon. "I will be careful," he said before she could speak. She blinked. "How did you know?" "Because Theo just made a face like he would murder me if I were not. So I assumed it was important." He grinned again. He carried it up the porch steps like it was a baby. Della turned to the porch. The dark-haired one was still standing there, still watching. Theo cleared his throat. "Ambrose," he said, "this is Adelaide Ashbury, my intended." Ambrose did not move for a long moment. Then he came down the steps, slow, deliberate, each motion considered. He stopped 3 feet from her. He did not offer his hand. His storm gray eyes searched her face. He said very quietly, "Ashbury." "Yes." "Where are you from?" "Boston." Something flickered across his face just for an instant. Then it was gone. "Welcome," he said. He turned and walked back into the house. Della watched him go. Theo exhaled beside her. "He will warm up." "Will he?" "Probably." She almost laughed. She did not. The next 3 days passed in a strange, careful dance. Della slept in the larger of the two upstairs bedrooms. Theo had moved his things into the smaller one. Ambrose and Bo shared a room across the hall. The walls were thin. She could hear them breathing at night. The whole house had the warm, slightly smoky smell of a place where men live alone. She wept the first night, quietly, into her pillow. She did not know what she was weeping for. In the morning, Bo made coffee, strong enough to dissolve a horseshoe. He apologized for it 18 times before breakfast was over. Theo took her out to see the barn, the corral, the smokehouse, the spring house where they had kept the milk and butter cool. He pointed out every fence post, every gate, every tool, as if memorizing the place was a way of belonging to it. Ambrose did not appear at breakfast or lunch. He was gone before sunrise and back after dark. He nodded at her when their paths crossed. He did not speak. The wedding was on the third day. The circuit preacher came to Pine Hollow on the first Wednesday of every month. He had been notified. He waited in the small church with his prayer book open. Della wore the only dress she owned, crimson red. The hem was frayed. The lace at the cuffs had been mended. Mrs. Patterson from the general store stood up as her witness. The woman wept openly through the entire ceremony. Bo was Theo's best man. He cried too. He tried to hide it. Ambrose stood at the back of the church. He did not sit. He did not kneel. He just watched. The preacher spoke the words. Theo took her hand. His palm was warm and dry. He slid a thin gold band onto her finger. "With this ring," he said. His voice was steady. She slid the matching band onto his hand. Her fingers were shaking. "With this ring," she whispered. The preacher said, "You may kiss the bride." Theo paused. He looked at her. The question was in his eyes. "Are you sure? Do I have permission?" She nodded, very small. He bent. He pressed his lips to hers, briefly, carefully, the barest brush of warmth. She felt nothing. She felt everything. She did not know which. They rode home in this wagon, the three brothers and Della, just like every other day, except now she was a wife. That was the night Theo set the key on the table. The bedroom upstairs, the lamp burning low. She had taken her hair down. She had put on her nightgown. She was sitting on the edge of the bed with her hands folded in her lap, waiting. She did not know what for. She was 23 years old, a virgin, a bride, a stranger in her own house. A knock on the door, soft. Della, may I come in? Yes. Theo opened the door. He was still in his vest and trousers. He had not undressed. He carried something small in his hand. He crossed the room. He set the object on the nightstand. A small brass key. This key fits the lock on this door, he said. The bolt slides from the inside. Only you can open it once it is shut. She stared at the key. She stared at him. He did not sit down. He did not move closer. Whatever you read in that advertisement, he said, whatever you imagined, whatever you were promised, this room is yours. This bed is yours. That door locks from the inside. And when you are ready, if you are ever ready, you tell me. Not before. Not because you feel you owe me. Not because you think you must. When you are ready, if you are ready, I will wait. I will wait a year. I will wait 10. I will wait forever if that is what you need. He paused. You did not come here to be owned, Della. You came here to be safe. And I mean to keep that promise. She could not speak. Her throat had closed. He nodded once. He turned. He walked to the door. At the threshold, he stopped. Good night, Mrs. Ravenscroft. He closed the door behind him. She sat on the edge of the bed. She looked at the key. She picked it up. It was warm from his hand. And then, finally, after 3 months, after Boston, after Thorne, after the train, after the coach, after every cold night in the church basement, she wept, not from sorrow, not from fear, from something else, something she did not have a name for. She wept until the lamp burned out. She did not lock the door, but she did not open it either. The first week became the second. Della woke at dawn. She made breakfast for the 4 of them. She washed dishes. She swept the cabin floor. She fed the chickens that Theo had bought on the second day. Theo had bought the chickens because she had mentioned casually that she had always wanted to keep chickens. He had ridden to town. He had returned with 6 hens and a rooster in a crate. She had cried that night too. He did not know. Bo took it upon himself to teach her a thing. How to load a rifle. How to identify wolf tracks. How to tell a copperhead from a king snake. This is a king snake, Bo said, holding up a long, slithering creature he had caught behind the woodpile. Black with yellow rings, friendly, he eats mice. Be nice to him. Della backed away. And this, Bo continued, is what you want to avoid. He produced a drawing from his pocket. A copperhead. He had sketched it himself. Bo, Della said, you draw. He looked startled, then embarrassed. A little. A little. This is beautiful. He stuffed the drawing back in his pocket. His ears went pink. Do not tell Theo. Why not? Because he will make fun of me, and it will hurt my feelings. And then I will sulk for 3 days. And no one wants that. She laughed. It was the first time she had laughed in months. Bo looked at her like she had just performed a magic trick. Ambrose was harder. He vanished at dawn. He returned at dusk. He spoke perhaps 5 words a day, and 3 of them were past the salt. Della watched him. She did not know what to make of him. He carried 2 pistols, one on each hip. He cleaned them every night at the kitchen table. The smell of gun oil filled the cabin. He moved like a man expecting an ambush in his own living room. On the 7th night she heard him. It was past midnight. The house was dark. She had drifted off to sleep with her hand on her mother's Shakespeare. A cry, not loud, choked, half swallowed. She sat up in bed. Another cry. A word. A name maybe. She could not tell. She got up. She wrapped her shawl around her shoulders. She crept down the hall. Ambrose's door was open. just a crack. She did not mean to look. She told herself afterward that she did not mean to look, but she did. Ambrose was sitting bolt upright in bed. His face was wet with sweat. His hands were over his ears. He was rocking, just slightly, back and forth. His eyes were open. He was not seeing her. He was not seeing the room. He was seeing something else. A door opened at the end of the hall. Theo, barefoot, trousers pulled on hastily. He did not look surprised. He saw her. He nodded. He walked past her into Ambrose's room. He did not turn on a lamp. He sat on the edge of Ambrose's bed. He put one hand on his brother's shoulder. He began to talk, so quiet she could only catch fragments. You are home. You are at the cabin. The pines are outside the window. Bo is sleeping. The fire is banked. You are not there anymore. You are home. You are home. You are home. Ambrose's breathing slowed. The rocking stopped. After a long time, he lay back down. Theo sat with him until he slept. When Theo came out into the hall, his face was a closed door. He saw Della still standing there, hand over her mouth. I am sorry, she whispered. Do not be. What was that? Theo rubbed his hand across his eyes. That, he said quietly, is what my brother brought home from the Modoc War. Della stared at him. The what? 10 years ago, the lava beds, up in Tule Lake. The army went in after Captain Jack and his people. Ambrose was 20. He signed up because we needed money. The cabin was failing. I could not feed all of us. He wanted to help. Theo's jaw worked. He came back 6 months later with a shoulder wound that nearly killed him. And with that, whatever you just saw, the doctors call it soldier's heart. It does not go away. It just gets quieter sometimes. Della felt the air leave her lungs. How often? Less than it used to be. Once a week, maybe. Sometimes once a night. Sometimes for weeks, not at all. He hates that anyone hears. Be kind. Do not mention it to him in the morning. He will not want to talk about it. She nodded. Theo turned to go back to his room. Theo, he paused. Thank you, she said, for trusting me with this. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he said very quietly, you are family now, Della. That is what family is for. He went back to his room. She did not sleep again that night. The horse came in the middle of the second week. A neighbor brought it. Old man Hennessy. He led the animal up the road on a frayed rope. The horse was a 4-year-old gelding, black, beautiful, and absolutely wild with terror. It had thrown 3 men. It had bitten Hennessy's son. It would not let anyone near it with a saddle. Hennessy had heard that the Ravenscroft brothers worked horses. Theo took the rope. He led the horse into the corral. He shut the gate. Della watched from the porch. The horse paced the fence line, foam at its mouth, eyes white-rimmed. Theo tried to approach. The horse lunged at him, teeth bared. Theo stepped back. Bo tried. Same result. Even Ambrose tried. The horse reared. Theo had to drag Ambrose out by the shoulder. Theo took off his hat. He ran his hand through his hair. He will hurt himself, Theo muttered. He cannot keep this up. Della came down off the porch. She walked to the corral fence. She did not climb in. She just stood at the rail. She watched. The horse watched her back. She began to hum. It was a melody her mother used to sing, a lullaby. Old, sad, slow. The horse stopped pacing. She kept humming. The horse turned its head toward her. She did not move. After a long minute, the horse took a step toward the fence. Theo looked at her sharply. He opened his mouth to say something. She held up one hand without looking at him. The horse came closer, one step, another, until it was 3 feet from the rail. Della reached out her hand, palm flat, empty. The horse smelled her fingers. She kept humming. The horse pressed its nose against her palm. Behind her on the porch, 3 Ravenscroft brothers stood absolutely still. Della stroked the horse's neck. She turned her head slightly. She spoke, so quiet only the horse could hear. There, now there. Nobody is going to hurt you. Not here. Not ever. Not on this mountain. The horse closed its eyes. She kept humming. When she finally stepped back from the rail, the horse followed her along the fence. Theo found his voice. Della, she turned. His face was something she had never seen before. Where did you learn to do that? She shrugged, suddenly shy. I do not know. I have always been able to. Animals trust me. They always have. Always. Since I was little. My mother used to say it was a gift from her side of the family. I never thought much of it. Theo stared at her. Behind him, Bo was laughing. Oh, Bo said, oh, Theo. Oh, this changes everything. Theo did not answer. He looked at his bride, her hair a little wild from the wind, a smudge of dirt on her cheek, a horse the color of midnight following her along the corral fence, and something on his face cracked open. Just a little. Della saw it. She did not know what it meant yet. Mrs. Patterson came out from the general store on Thursday, pretext dropping off mail and some sugar Della had ordered. Real purpose gossip, she bustled into the kitchen. She set down her parcels. She fixed Della with a piercing stare. There was a man asking about you, she said. Della went cold. What man? In town, yesterday. Tall fellow, Eastern clothes, nice boots. Came into the store, asked Mr. Patterson if anyone had seen a young blonde woman come through on the coach from Boston. Said her name was Ashbury. Della gripped the back of the kitchen chair. What did Mr. Patterson tell him? Nothing. My husband is no fool. He said he had not seen anyone of that description. Said he was sorry, but Pine Hollow does not get many visitors. The man left a card and told him to send a telegram if anyone showed up. She produced the card from her pocket. She set it on the table. Della picked it up. Heavy paper, embossed, black ink. J. Caldwell, agent, Thorn Industries, Boston. She put it down very carefully. Her hands were shaking. Mrs. Patterson watched her with sharp, kind eyes. Honey, she said, whoever that man is, whoever sent him, you are going to need to tell Theodore. Della nodded. She could not speak. Mrs. Patterson took her leave shortly after. Della stood in the kitchen for a long time, the card on the table between her hands. Theo came in at dusk. He saw her face. He saw the card. He picked it up. He read it. He read it again. He set it down. He went to the back door. He opened it. He whistled, a long, low whistle. Ambrose and Bo came in from the barn. Theo did not speak until they were both at the kitchen table. Della, he said, sit down. She sat. He sat across from her. Bo on her left, Ambrose on her right, all three Ravenscroft brothers looking at her. She had never felt so surrounded in her life. She had also never felt so safe. There is a man looking for you in Pine Hollow, Theo said. An agent from Boston, from someone named Thorne. I need you to tell me everything. So she did. It took an hour. She started with her father, the doctor, the quiet practice, the death she had never quite believed. She told him about Thorne, about the dinner, about the slap, about the slate gray eyes. She told them about the bookshops that would not hire her, the boarding houses that would not rent, the slow grinding shame of being made invisible by a powerful man. She told them about the church basement, about the bread crusts, about the advertisement. She told them everything except for the love for her parents, the love for Boston, the love she had buried alongside them. That was hers. When she finished, the cabin was silent. Bo had stopped grinning a long time ago. Ambrose had not moved through the entire telling. His hand was on the grip of one of his pistols. He probably did not know. Thea was looking at the table. She braced herself for what came next, for the anger, for the regret, for send her back. Theo lifted his head. His pale gray eyes met hers. You are not going anywhere alone again, he said. Not to town, not to the well, not to the hen house after dark. One of us is always with you. She started to protest, to say it was not necessary, to say she could take care of herself. But Ambrose spoke first. Pistol Ambrose said, "You, tomorrow, I will show you." Della stared at him. It was the longest sentence he had spoken in 2 weeks. What? You should know how to shoot. I will teach you. Tomorrow at dawn, Bo leaned in, and I will teach you knife throwing, because frankly, that is more fun. Bo, Theo, not knife throwing. Yes, knife throwing. It is a useful life skill. Della laughed. She did not mean to. It came out of her in a great surprise burst. A real laugh, full-bodied, from the belly. 3 Ravenscroft brothers stared at her. She covered her mouth. "I am sorry," she said. "I am sorry. I do not know why I am laughing." Theo's mouth twitched because he said, "We are absurd. You are absurd. We are absurd." "Yes," the laugh came again. This time he joined her, just a low rumble of his chest. Bo laughed loud and free. Even Ambrose's shoulders shook once, maybe. The lamp burned low. The fire in the stove popped. Outside, somewhere in the pines, a great horned owl called. Della looked around at the kitchen table at her 3 new strange brothers, her 1 new strange husband, the 4 of them woven together by accident and necessity, and something else that she did not yet have a word for. And she thought very quietly in the back of her mind, this is home. The thought terrified her, because she knew even as she thought it that home was always the thing they took from you next. Outside, the wind shifted. It came down off the mountain. It carried snow on it, just a faint cold edge, just a warning. The first storm of the season was 3 days out, and somewhere on a stagecoach climbing the Sierra Grade, the man with the embossed card was already on his way. Della did not know, not yet, but Theo did, and Ambrose, and Bo, and in the morning just after dawn, in the cold pink light of the mountain sun, a quiet woman from Boston would learn how to load a pistol, and the Ravenscroft brothers would learn, every one of them, that the woman they had brought home was not the helpless creature they had imagined. She was a storm. She just did not know it yet. The first snow came on a Tuesday. Della was standing at the kitchen window when it started. Small flakes, drifting sideways, catching in the bare branches of the apple tree Theo had planted the spring before. She pressed her palm against the cold glass. She had never seen mountain snow before. Boston snow was gray, industrial, mixed with coal soot before it even hit the ground. This was something else. This was the world being remade. By nightfall, there were 3 inches on the porch rail. By morning, 8. By the 3rd day, the road to Pine Hollow was impassable. They were snowed in, together, 4 of them. 1 small cabin, 2,000 feet of pine and granite in white silence in every direction. Della had thought she would feel trapped. She did not. She felt held. The mornings became a ritual. Theo rose first. Always. He banked the fire before he slept and woke it back to life at 4 o'clock. By the time Della came down the stairs, the kitchen smelled of coffee and split cedar. He had a way of pouring her coffee without looking up. He had a way of pushing the cream toward her before she asked. She did not mention it. He did not either. Bo came down second, hair sticking up in 7 directions, 1 sock missing, apologizing for nothing in particular. Ambrose came down last, or sometimes not at all. Some mornings he was already gone, tracking deer in the new snow, coming back at sunset with meat slung across his shoulders, saying nothing, eating in silence, cleaning his pistols at the table. The first morning of real snow, Della found a small object on her plate at breakfast. A wooden ring, hand-carved, a perfect circle. Smooth as glass, she picked it up. She turned it in her fingers. Bo cleared his throat. "That is mine," he said. "I made it." She looked at him. "Why? Why what? Why is it on my plate?" Bo went pink. "Because." "Well, you have been here 3 weeks, and you have a wedding band from Theo, which is good, which is correct, but I was thinking a wife in this house should have things, small things, from all of us, so she knows she is home. Della could not speak. Bo scratched the back of his neck. It is just wood. I can throw it out if you do not. Beauregard Ravenscroft, yes, do not ever throw it out. He looked up. She slid the wooden ring onto her right hand. Her ring finger was for Theo's gold band. Her middle finger was for this. Smooth juniper, warm against her skin. It fit perfectly. Of course it fit perfectly. He had measured her hand on the porch the second day. He had said he wanted to check her glove size. She had not understood. She understood now. Bo looked like he might cry. Bo looked like he might burst. Bo, in fact, did neither. He picked up his coffee. He sipped. He pretended none of this had just happened. Theo watched the whole thing from across the table. He said nothing. But when Della looked at him, his eyes had gone soft. So soft. She had to look away. Because what would happen if she did not look away? She did not want to find out. Not yet. The shooting lessons happened every morning. Ambrose, true to his word, took her out to the barn at first light. He set up tin cans on a fence post. He showed her how to load, how to aim, how to brace her shoulder. He spoke in fragments. Wrist firm, breathe out, squeeze, not pull. Della listened. She missed. She missed. She missed. She hit one. Ambrose nodded once. He did not smile. He did not say good job. He just nodded. She decided that nod was worth more than 1,000 compliments from a Boston gentleman. By the end of the second week, she could hit 5 out of 6. By the end of the third, 6 out of 6. Ambrose stopped setting up cans. He started setting up smaller things. A pine cone, a walnut, a button. When she shot the button off the fence post, he turned to her and said one word. Good. She had to sit down on the cold ground for a moment. Because Ambrose Ravenscroft had said good. Bo, watching from the porch, threw both fists in the air and shouted to the mountains. Theo, watching from the barn door, smiled. The first conversation about the past happened on the 5th night of snow. The 4 of them sat by the fire. Della was reading aloud from her mother's Shakespeare, Much Ado About Nothing. Bo was howling with laughter at every Benedict line. Ambrose was cleaning a pistol. Theo was whittling a piece of cedar into something that might have been a horse. Della finished a scene. She closed the book on her finger. Tell me something, she said. 3 brothers looked up. Tell me what your mother was like. The room went very still. Bo looked at Theo. Theo looked at the fire. Ambrose was the one who answered. She sang. Della waited. She sang while she cooked, Ambrose said. His voice was low. She sang while she carried water. She sang while she nursed Bo. She had a voice like. He could not find the word. Like a bell, Theo finished. Soft and clear. You could hear her singing from the orchard. Bo was looking at the floor. I do not remember her, he said. I was 5 when she died. I have one memory. She is brushing my hair. She is humming. That is all I have. Della closed the Shakespeare gently. What did she sing? Theo cleared his throat. He began to hum, low, hesitant, a tune Della did not know. Ambrose joined in, stronger, and then very softly Bo began to sing the words. Old words, mountain words, a song about a river that ran to the sea. Della watched her 3 men sing their dead mother's song in the firelight. She did not cry. She wanted to. She held it back. Until Theo looked at her across the room, and she saw in his pale gray eyes that he was not holding it back at all. A single tear had cut a clean line down his cheek and disappeared into his beard. He did not wipe it away. He just kept humming. She put the Shakespeare down. She crossed the room. She sat on the floor at his feet, not asking permission, not announcing herself, just sitting, her back against his knee, her cheek against the rough wool of his trousers. His hand came down, slowly, Tentatively, it rested on her hair. He did not move it. He did not stroke her hair. He just left his hand there. Warm, heavy, steady, like an anchor, like a promise. She closed her eyes. The brothers sang their mother home. Della slept that night and did not weep at all. The horsework began to bring in money. Word had traveled. Mrs. Patterson had told everyone in Pine Hollow that the Ravenscroft's new wife could gentle a horse with her bare hands. The story grew with each telling. By the time it reached Coloma, Della was apparently able to whisper to mountain lions and command bears to sit. The truth was simpler. She just listened. A man named Riggs brought her a stallion that had bitten the tip off his hand. Della worked with the animal for 3 days, humming, sitting in the corral, saying nothing. By the 4th day, the stallion was eating apples from her palm. Riggs paid $40. $40. It was more money than Della had ever held in her life. She tried to give it to Theo. He refused. "That is yours," he said. "It is ours." He paused. "All right, then you decide what to do with it." She thought for a day. The next morning at breakfast, she announced, "I would like to buy lumber for a proper hen house. The chickens have outgrown the lean-to." Bo leapt up. "I will draw the plans," Ambrose grunted. "I will fell the cedar." Theo looked at her across the table. Just looked. She felt heat climb her neck. "What?" "Nothing." "Theodore Ravenscroft." "What?" "You sound like a rancher's wife." "I am a rancher's wife." "Yes," he said, "you are." And the way he said it made her have to leave the room for a moment. Just for a moment, to compose herself by the back door. She did not understand why words could do that. Why 3 words from one quiet man could undo her so completely. She was beginning to suspect she would never understand. She was beginning to suspect she did not mind. The first kiss came the day the hen house was finished. It was the end of October. The snow had melted in patches. The sun was sharp. The air smelled of pine and cold water. They had worked together for a week. Theo and Ambrose hauling the cedar. Bo fitting the joints. Della painting the inside white because she had read somewhere that chickens preferred light walls. When it was done, she stood back to look at it. It was beautiful. It had a peaked roof, glass windows, a small porch over the door because Bo had insisted that even chickens deserved a porch. Della laughed. She laughed and laughed. Theo set down the hammer. He came to stand beside her. His shoulder was an inch from hers. She did not move away. He did not move away. The sun was beginning to set. Long red light. It caught in the pines. It turned the new wood of the hen house the color of honey. Della said, "Thank you." Theo did not answer for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket. He pulled something out, a small object wrapped in cloth. He held it out to her. She took it. She unwrapped it. It was a ring. Not gold, not silver. It was old, tarnished, a thin band of beaten metal with a simple etched pattern. A vine, or a wave, or something between. She looked at him. "What is this?" "It belonged to my mother." She could not breathe. "Theo, my father made it for her. The summer they were married. He could not afford gold. He worked at the railroad smutty. He hammered out a band from a copper rivet he stole from the foreman." She started to laugh. The laugh was wet. Stole. Stole. Yes, he felt very guilty about it for the rest of his life. She turned the ring in her fingers. "Theo, you already gave me a gold band." The gold band was the wedding, that is. That was the legal thing. That was the contract. He looked at the ground. This is the other thing." She waited. He looked up. His pale gray eyes were the color of the winter sky behind him. "I did not know," he said. "I did not know what love was. I did not think it was something that happened to men like me. I built this place to be a fortress. I built it so that I would never have to need anyone." And then, he could not finish. He just gestured vaguely at her, at the hen house, at the mountains, at the whole impossible world. "Della, You came up that road in a wagon, holding a carpet bag, wearing a red dress with a torn hem, and I have not been the same man since." Della felt the tears spill over. She did not try to stop them. "Theo Ravenscroft," she whispered, "are you proposing to me a second time?" "I think I am. You are already my husband." "I know. You already have my hand." "I know. Then what are you asking for?" He looked at her. He took a breath. "Your heart," he said. "I know I do not have it yet. I know you came here to be safe and not to love anyone. I am asking, when you are ready, if you are ever ready, to consider giving it to me. Not all at once, just piece by piece, as you can spare it." Della laughed. She laughed and she cried at the same time. So, "You impossible man," she said. "You impossible, impossible, impossible man." She rose on her toes. She kissed him. It was the second kiss of their marriage, but the first kiss of whatever this was. His beard was rough against her mouth. His hands came up, slow, carefully. They rested on her waist. When she pulled back, his eyes were closed. She slid the copper ring onto her finger. Just below the gold band, just above the carved juniper, 3 rings, 3 brothers, 1 mountain, 1 home. A cheer erupted from the cabin window. Bo, who had been spying shamelessly, slammed the window shut. Della could hear him shouting through the wall to Ambrose. She buried her face in Theo's coat. He laughed. The rumble of it shook her whole body. "He has been waiting weeks for this," Theo said into her hair. "Just him. All of us." She lifted her face. "Theo, yes, I am ready." He went very still. "For what? For what comes next?" A long pause. He bent. He pressed his forehead to hers. "Tonight," he said quietly, "I will come up after you. If that is what you want, that is what I want." She felt him breathe out, long, slow, like a man who had been holding it for 100 years. That night, the door closed softly on the upstairs bedroom. The lamp burned low, and the mountain kept its quiet, ancient secrets. By morning, everything between them had changed, and nothing between them had changed. Which is to say, everything that mattered had only deepened. Theo poured her coffee the next morning, but this time he looked up. He met her eyes across the rising steam. He smiled, just slightly, just enough. She felt heat rise in her face. She had to look down at the cup. But this time when she sat down, his hand brushed the back of her neck. Brief, warm, steady. She turned her face into his palm. She closed her eyes. She did not pull away. Bo came down the stairs whistling so loud that all the chickens in the new hen house began to crow back. Ambrose came down a minute later. He looked at his brother. He looked at Della. He nodded. Just once, he said about time. And then he ate his breakfast in absolute silence, as if nothing had happened. The discovery came 2 weeks later, a rare, snowless afternoon. Theo and Ambrose were out checking the southern fence line. Bo was in the barn rebuilding a wagon wheel. Della was sorting through her trunk. She had not opened it since arriving. She did not know why she chose that afternoon. She was looking for a winter shawl, or perhaps she was looking for something she could not name. At the bottom of the trunk, beneath the spare petticoat and the worn cotton stockings, she found the small box, her father's box. She had forgotten she had it. She sat down on the bedroom floor with the box in her lap. She opened it. Inside were 3 things: his army medical badge, the brass tarnished, the pimpent, a small folded daguerreotype of her mother as a young woman, and a tintype photograph. A photograph of her father in his army surgeon's coat, standing in front of a canvas hospital tent, his arm around the shoulders of a young soldier. The young soldier had a bandage wrapped around his head. The young soldier was perhaps 18 years old, lean, hollow-cheeked. The young soldier had a face Della knew. She stared at the photograph. She stared at it for a long time. She did not breathe. It could not be. It was not possible. She turned the tintype over. There was writing on the back. Her father's hand. Lava beds. Sergeant A. Ravenscroft. Survived. Thanks be to God. The world tilted. Della heard the front door open downstairs. Theo and Ambrose were back. She heard their boots on the floor. She heard Bo coming in from the barn. She picked up the tintype. She walked downstairs. The three brothers were in the kitchen, hanging up coats, stomping snow off boots. Ambrose saw her face first. He went still. She did not say anything. She just held out the tintype. Ambrose took it. He looked at it. His face did not change. His hand holding the tintype began to tremble. Theo turned. He saw what was happening. What is it? Ambrose handed the tintype to Theo without speaking. Theo looked at it. He looked at the back. He looked at Ambrose. He looked at Della. He set it on the table. Sit down, he said, quietly, to everyone, to no one. They sat. Della spoke first, because Ambrose would not. That is my father, she said. Her voice was very small. Yes, he is. He is with you, with Ambrose. Yes, she turned to Ambrose. He had not looked up from the table. Ambrose, she whispered, when was this taken? He did not answer. Theo answered for him. 1873, spring. The Army Field Hospital outside the lava beds. After the second engagement, Ambrose came in with a head wound and a shoulder wound. They thought he would not live the night. Della could not breathe. My father was the surgeon on duty, Theo said. He stayed up 3 nights with Ambrose. He read to him from a book. He held a basin while Ambrose got sick. He cleaned the wound twice a day for 3 weeks. Della's hand flew to her mouth. A book, she said. What book? Theo looked at her. Ambrose, Theo said. Tell her what book. Ambrose finally lifted his face. His storm gray eyes were full of tears. Shakespeare, he whispered. The same volume. The brown leather one. Cracked at the spine. He read me Much Ado About Nothing. And The Tempest, he said. He said his daughter loved it. He said his daughter was 11 years old and reading it on her own. He told me. He told me about you, Della. He told me about you for 3 weeks while I was dying. Della made a sound that was not quite a sob and not quite a laugh. She covered her face. Ambrose stood up. He came around the table. He knelt in front of her chair, slowly, like a man approaching an altar. He took her hand. His hand was rough, scarred, enormous. It swallowed hers. Your father, he said. Your father saved my life. I owe him every breath I have taken since 1873. I did not know. I did not know it was you when you came up the road with your carpet bag. I did not know you were his. Della was weeping freely. Ambrose. He used to read to me at night. When the fever was bad, he used to say his Della had a way with horses. He said she had a gift. He laughed when he said it. He was so proud of you. Della clutched his hand. He died, Ambrose. He died last winter. Pneumonia. They told me pneumonia. Ambrose looked at her for a long moment. He looked at Theo. Theo looked back. Something passed between them that Della did not yet understand. Ambrose said very carefully, Della, did anyone else know your father's work? What do you mean? Did anyone else know what he saw during the war, during the Modoc business? Did anyone know what your father knew? Della stared. I do not understand. Ambrose did not answer. He just held her hand. But she saw it then. She saw it in his eyes, the thing he was not saying. Her father had not died of pneumonia. Her father had been killed. And Ambrose Ravenscroft had known it the moment he heard her last name on the porch. The realization hit her like a physical blow. She sat down hard in her chair. Theo, yes, what did my father know? Theo and Ambrose exchanged another look. It was Ambrose who finally spoke. In 1872, he said the Army was buying carbines from a Boston firm. Cheap ones. The barrels were bored thin. They burst on the 3rd or 4th firing. A lot of men died. Some were shot by their own weapons. Others died because they were unarmed in a firefight. The army eventually figured it out. There was supposed to be an inquiry. The inquiry never happened. The man who supplied the carbines paid the right people. He bought the inquiry. He bought the witnesses. Della stared. What? What was his name? Ambrose looked her dead in the eye. Thorne, he said. Cornelius Thorne. The room was perfectly silent. You could hear the snow melting on the eaves. You could hear a single chicken complaining in the new henhouse. You could hear Della's heart breaking and rebuilding itself in real time. Your father testified at the original inquiry that was canceled. Ambrose continued, he was the surgeon who treated the men with the burst carbines. He kept records. He kept the powder residue patterns. He wrote a letter to the War Department. The letter went nowhere. The inquiry was buried. And then a few years later, your father was dead. Della's hand went to her throat. He kept records. Yes, in writing. He told me. 3 nights I sat up with him. He said he kept a copy of everything, in case. He said he had hidden it somewhere safe. Somewhere only family would think to look. Della stared. Family would think. That is what he said. She rose to her feet. She was shaking. From the bottoms of her boots all the way up. She walked to the staircase. She walked up the stairs. She walked into the bedroom she had been sleeping in for 5 weeks. The Shakespeare lay on the nightstand. She picked it up. She held it for a moment. 40 years her mother had read it. 40 years of hands on this leather. She turned to the back-end papers. The paste down was thick, slightly puckered at one corner. She slid her thumbnail under the edge. The end paper lifted. Beneath it lay folded papers, 6 pages of her father's handwriting. She did not read them yet. She could not. Her hands were trembling too badly. She just carried them down the stairs. 3 brothers looked up when she entered the kitchen. She set the papers on the table. She said very quietly, he hid it in my mother's book. Theo picked up the papers. He unfolded them. He read the first one. His face went white. He read the second, the third. By the 4th page, he was already standing up. By the 6th, he was at the rifle rack. Theo said, saddle up, go to town, telegram Sacramento, find out where Caldwell is sleeping tonight. Sacramento, on it. Ambrose, the locks on the doors, the windows, all of them. Reinforce already done. Started yesterday. Della looked at him. Yes, put that revolver I gave you on the nightstand. Loaded, tonight, every night until this is finished. Yes. He stopped. He came to her. He took her face in his hands. He will not get within 50 yards of this cabin, Theo said. Do you hear me? He will not touch you ever. She nodded. She believed him. That night, while the men worked downstairs, Della sat by the upstairs window. She had her father's papers spread across the bed. She read them all. She wept while she read, but she also smiled. Just once. Just at one line. In the margin of the 3rd page in her father's spidery hand was a note that read, if you are reading this, sweetheart, then I have failed to protect you and I am sorry. But you were always braver than you knew. Go west. Find someone who deserves you. Build a life. Do not look back. Della pressed the page to her chest. Outside, very far away, a wolf called. Below her in the kitchen, 3 brothers were sharpening knives and oiling guns and speaking in the low, quiet way of men preparing for a war. She had come to this mountain with nothing. She had 4 husbands now, 1 in the legal sense, 3 in every sense that mattered. She had a name on her finger and a ring made of stolen copper in a wooden circle from a man who could draw. She had a horse that followed her along the corral fence. She had a father's last letter pressed to her heart. She had a war coming. She put her hand on her belly. She had been waiting to be sure. She was sure. She would tell Theo in the morning. She blew out the lamp. She lay down in the dark. And for the first time in her entire life, Adelaide Ashbury Ravenscroft was not afraid. She told him the next morning in the kitchen, before sunrise, before Bo came down, before Ambrose returned from his pre-dawn patrol. She was making coffee. Theo was lacing his boots by the door. She did not turn around. She just said, "Theo, yes, you should sit down." He paused. "Why? Because you are about to be a father." He went silent. She heard the chair scrape. She heard him sit down. Heavily, she turned around. He was looking at her like he had been struck. His mouth open, closed, opened again. "Della, yes. We are, when? July, I think." He stood up. He sat back down. He stood up again. She started to laugh. She could not help it. "Theo Ravenscroft, sit down before you fall down." "Della." "What?" "Della." "Theodore." "Della, I am going to be a father, yes. In July, yes. Della, Della, Della." He came across the kitchen. He picked her up. He spun her in a circle. Once. Only once. Then he set her down very carefully like she was made of glass. "Theo, yes, I am not glass. You are now until July. You are glass." She rolled her eyes. He kissed her. The kitchen door banged open. Ambrose stomped in. He stopped dead. He looked at his brother. He looked at his sister-in-law. He looked at the two of them standing in the middle of the kitchen with Theo's hand on Della's stomach. Ambrose's storm gray eyes went very wide. "Oh," he said. "Yes. Oh, yes, Ambrose." He sat down. He put both hands flat on the table. He stared at the wall for a moment. Then he said in the most emotional voice Della had ever heard from him, "I will fell more cedar. I will need to build a cradle." He stood up. He walked back out the door. Bo came down the stairs 90 seconds later. He took one look at Theo. He took one look at Della. He took one look at the open door swinging on its hinges. "What did I miss? Bo, oh no, what? You are going to be an uncle," Bo screamed. He actually screamed. He grabbed Theo by both shoulders. He shook him. He turned to Della. He sank to one knee. He pressed his ear to her stomach. He stood up. He sat down. He stood up again. "I am going to be an uncle, you are. I have never been an uncle. It is your first time. I do not know how to be an uncle. You will figure it out. I will figure it out. Yes, I will. I will figure it out. I am going to be an uncle." "Theo, Theo, Theo, did you hear that? I heard Bo. You are going to be a father." "I heard, in July, yes. In July, Theo, July, Bo." Bo sat down in his chair. He put his face in his hands. He laughed. He sobbed. He laughed again. Della watched her brothers-in-law with a feeling in her chest she could not name. It was It was the strange, miraculous knowledge that the child she carried already had a family waiting for it. 3 uncles, a house full, a mountain full. She placed her hand on top of Theo's hand. Outside, the sun was coming up over the eastern ridge. The snow was beginning to fall again. And 6 miles down the mountain at the Pine Hollow Hotel, a man with embossed cards in his coat pocket was finishing his breakfast and asking the hotel clerk very politely whether anyone in town knew the location of the Ravenscroft homestead. The clerk did not know. The clerk said so. The man tipped him generously and walked out into the snow. He had been hired by Cornelius Thorne. He had been told to be patient. He had been told to wait. He had been told that the woman would either come down off that mountain or he would go up after her. The blizzard hit 2 days later. It came down out of Canada. It came down across the Sierras. It came down hard and fast and white. Theo measured 18 inches on the porch rail by the second morning. By the third morning, 27. By the fourth, the cabin door would not open against the drift. They had food. They had wood. They had water from the spring house. They had each other. And Della, who was 11 weeks pregnant, began to feel the first dragging pains in her lower back on the morning of the 5th day. She did not say anything at first. until the second pain came, until the third, until she stood up from the kitchen chair and a smear of dark red appeared on the wood seat behind her. She made a small sound, a small, surprised, terrified sound. Theo turned. Theo saw. Theo's face went the color of new snow. Della. Theo. Sit down, lie down. The bed. Now. Theo, it is too early. I know. I know it is too early. Get into bed. Bo the doctor. Now. Ride. Theo, the road is gone. The road has been gone for 3 days. Bo was already pulling on his coat. I will get through, Bo said. I will get to Pine Hollow. I will bring back help. Bo. I will, Theo. I will. Ambrose stepped forward. I am going with him. No, Theo said. I need you here. With us. I need. He could not finish the sentence. Ambrose put a hand on his brother's shoulder. I know. I will stay. Bo will go. He is the fastest. The horse is good. He will make it. Bo wrapped a scarf around his face. He hugged Della. He whispered something in her ear that she did not catch. He squeezed Theo's arm hard. He was gone before anyone could say anything else. The door slammed behind him. The wind howled. The room felt suddenly very, very small. Della lay down in the upstairs bedroom. Theo sat beside her on one side. Ambrose stood at the window, watching the white. Outside, the storm raged on. Inside, time slowed to the rhythm of Della's breathing, of Theo's hand on hers, of the small, terrified life curled inside her, fighting for purchase. 6 miles away on the Pine Hollow Road, a man with embossed cards in his coat pocket was watching the snow with very different eyes. He was reading the storm as cover. He was reading the storm as opportunity. He was waiting. And on a horse named Midnight, with snow up to its chest and ice in its mane, Bo Ravenscroft was riding into a wall of white wind with a prayer on his lips and an old army colt at his hip. He did not know about the man at the Pine Hollow Hotel. The man at the hotel did not know about him. The mountain knew. The mountain knew everything, and the mountain was not done with the Ravenscroft brothers yet, not by a long shot. Bo rode through the white. Midnight was a black streak in a world of nothing. Snow up to the horse's chest. Snow in Bo's eyes. Snow in his lungs. He could not see the road. He could not see the trees. He could not see his own hand on the reins. But he could see Della's face. He could see her hand on her belly. He could see Theo's face. So he kept riding. 3 miles in Midnight stumbled, a drift deeper than the others. The horse went down to its knees. Bo went off into the snow. He came up spitting. He grabbed the reins. He pulled. He pulled. He pulled. The horse rose, trembling, steaming. Bo put his forehead against Midnight's neck. Just to Pine Hollow, he whispered. Just to town. We are halfway. Just halfway. The horse blew out a great snorting breath. Bo climbed back on. They went on. Back at the cabin, Della was breathing in patterns. Theo had pulled the rocking chair up beside the bed. He held her hand. He counted with her, in through the nose, out through the mouth. The bleeding had slowed. It had not stopped. Ambrose stood in the doorway with the medical book his brother-in-law had left behind. He was turning pages with shaking fingers. He found a section. He read it 3 times. He looked up. Della, yes, lie on your left side, knees up. It says the left side helps the blood flow to the child. She turned, slow, careful, onto her left side. Theo did not let go of her hand. Ambrose flipped more pages. It says elevate the feet, pillows under the hips. It says raise them. Theo moved fast. He stuffed pillows. He propped her. He arranged her. She made a small laughing sound. Theo, what? I look like a pretzel. You look like the most beautiful pretzel I have ever seen. She laughed, then winced. She did not laugh again. Ambrose was still reading. It says, quiet, warm, no exertion. plenty of liquids, honey water, beef broth if she can keep it down, hot stones at the feet. Stones, Theo said. I will heat stones, he stood up. He did not let go of her hand. He bent. He kissed her forehead. I will be right back. Theo, yes, do not leave. I will be back in 2 minutes. Theo, Della, 2 minutes, I swear. She let go of his hand. He went. She closed her eyes. She put her free hand on her belly. She whispered, stay, stay, stay with me. Just stay with me. Please stay with me. The child did not answer, but it also did not leave. Bo saw the lights of Pine Hollow at the edge of his vision 4 hours later. He had stopped being cold an hour ago. He knew that was bad. He knew that meant his body was giving up on him. He pinched himself, hard, through the glove. He hit himself across the face, once, twice. Midnight kept walking. The first building Bo came to was the livery stable. He fell off the horse onto the icy ground. A boy of maybe 16 rushed out. Mister, Doctor, where? Pine Hollow. Doc Hadley is at home, 2 streets over. Mister, you are bleeding. Your face. Doctor, take me. The boy ran. He came back with 2 men. They half carried Bo through the snow. Dr. Hadley was a thin man with white hair and quick hands. He opened the door. He saw Bo. He said, good God. Bo grabbed his lapels. Doctor, Della, the Ravenscroft place. She is, she is, she is, she is what, son? Breathe. Bleeding. She is bleeding. She is with child. She is 3 months. There is blood. The cabin. You have to come. You have to come now. Dr. Hadley looked toward the window. The blizzard was a wall outside the glass. He looked at Bo. He looked at the wall again. He said very quietly, son, I cannot get a wagon up that road in this weather. Not tonight, not till morning at the earliest. Bo felt the floor tilt under him. No, son. No, doctor. Listen, listen to me. You will get on a horse. I will lead you up. I came down. I will take you up. Son, you cannot ride back into that storm. I can. I will. You will die in that drift. Then I will die in that drift. But I am taking you up that mountain. Now, get your bag. Dr. Hadley stared at the young man bleeding into his entryway rug. He looked at the storm outside. He looked back at Bo. He said, let me get my coat. While Bo was riding back up the mountain with a country doctor, while Della was praying on her left side, while Theo was heating stones in the kitchen fire, a man in Eastern boots was sitting in the Pine Hollow Hotel dining room with a glass of bourbon. His name was Caldwell. He had heard the commotion at the livery stable. He had asked questions. The livery boy had answered them. He was 16 and proud of his role. Caldwell now knew 3 things. He knew the Ravenscroft cabin was 6 miles up the mountain road. He knew the youngest brother had ridden in for a doctor. He knew the wife in the cabin was hurt. Cornelius Thorne had given Caldwell very simple instructions. Bring her back or end her. Caldwell tipped back his bourbon. He stood up. He went upstairs for his rifle and his heaviest coat. He had a feeling, the feeling of a hunter who has finally located the den. Storms favored the patient man. He believed himself a very patient man. The bleeding stopped at dusk. Della felt it stop. The way a person feels rain ending. The pain went next. Slow, reluctant, but it went. Theo had his head on the edge of the bed, his hand still in hers. He had been there for 6 hours without moving. Della touched his hair. He woke instantly. What? Is it the baby? It stopped. What stopped? The bleeding, the pain. It stopped Theo. He sat up. He felt her forehead. He felt her pulse. He pressed his ear bar to her stomach. He listened so hard his face turned red. I cannot hear. You will not, Theo. Not yet. Not for months. Are you sure? I am sure. He laid his cheek against her belly anyway. His hand stroked the side of her hip. Stay there, he whispered to the baby. Stay right there. We have everything ready for you. We have so much to show you. Just stay. Della stroked her husband's hair. She felt the warm tears against her stomach through the cotton of her nightgown. She felt them. She did not mention them. A man could weep in private, even a Ravenscroft. The hoofbeats came at midnight, two horses, coming hard up the road. Ambrose was on his feet at the first sound, pistol drawn, down the stairs, out the back door of the kitchen, around the side of the house. He waited in the shadow of the woodpile. The horses came into view. Two riders, snow-caked, bent low. Ambrose recognized Midnight first. He recognized Beau in the saddle a half-second later. He did not lower the pistol until they were 30 feet away. He recognized Dr. Hadley. He lowered. He stepped out. Beau fell off Midnight for the second time that night. Ambrose caught him. Della, alive. The bleeding stopped 2 hours ago. The baby may still be all right, inside, now, both of you. Dr. Hadley moved with that quick, precise grace of small men who have been running their whole lives. He grabbed his bag, he stamped his boots, he climbed the stairs 3 at a time. Beau collapsed against Ambrose. Ambrose half carried him into the kitchen. He sat him by the fire. He started peeling off the frozen gloves. Beau's hands were the color of slate. Ambrose did not say a word. He worked. Boot, coat, scarf. He wrapped his brother in a wool blanket. He pressed a tin cup of hot broth into the half-frozen hands. Beau started shivering. Violently, which was good. Shivering meant his body was warming. Hadley Beau croaked. How? Della, she is good, Beau. You did it. You got him up here. I rode. You rode. I rode through it. You did. Beau started crying. Ambrose did not say anything. He put his hand on the back of his little brother's neck. He left it there until Beau stopped shaking. Upstairs, Dr. Hadley examined Della for 20 minutes. He emerged from the bedroom with a face Theo could not read. Theo did not ask. He could not. Dr. Hadley looked at him. He smiled. Just slightly. Mr. Ravenscroft, yes, your child is still alive. Theo sat down on the top step of the staircase. He did not stand up for several minutes. Dr. Hadley sat down beside him. It was very close, Hadley said. She will be on bed rest for a month. No exertion, no lifting, no stress of any kind. She is small built. The pregnancy is fragile. If she follows the rules, there is no reason this child cannot come to term in July. Stress. Yes. Doctor, I need to tell you something. What? There is a man in Pine Hollow. He is here to take my wife, or to harm her. He works for a Boston banker named Thorne. He has been watching us for weeks. Dr. Hadley went very still. Are you telling me what I think you are telling me, Mr. Ravenscroft? I am. Hadley was silent for a long moment. Then he said, I knew Dr. Edmund Ashbury. We trained at the same hospital in 1864. He was a good man. I heard he died last winter. I did not know it was suspicious. Tell me everything. Theo told him. When he was finished, the country doctor's face had gone hard. Mr. Ravenscroft, yes. Has your brother in town said anything? Has anyone reported a stranger? My brother is downstairs, half dead from the cold. We have not spoken yet. I will go down. He did. 5 minutes later, Beau confirmed what they had feared. The livery boy, 16 years old, loud, proud. He had told the well-dressed stranger at the hotel everything. Caldwell knew about Della. Caldwell knew about the cabin. Caldwell had not been seen at the hotel since 7 that evening. It was now midnight. The man had been riding for 5 hours. In a blizzard, 6 miles took even an experienced rider 8 to 10 hours. But Caldwell had been heading up the mountain. He could be at the cabin in 2 hours, maybe less. Theo went very still on the top step. Ambrose, his brother, appeared at the bottom of the stairs. Yes, Caldwell is coming up. Ambrose nodded. Once. Then we will meet him. He went to the rifle rack. He took down the Sharps. He took down the Henry. He took down the old Army Colt. He laid them on the kitchen table. He looked at Theo. His storm gray eyes were perfectly calm. Theo, yes, I have done this before. I know. I have not done it well. I know that too. I will do it well tonight. For Della. For her father. For the child. Theo came down the stairs. He stood across the kitchen table from his brother. He looked at the rifles. He looked at the snow on the window panes. He looked at his brother. I am going with you. No. Ambrose, you stay with her. If anything happens, if I do not come back, you stay with her, with the child. You are her husband. I am her shield. We each have our place tonight. Theo's jaw worked. He looked at the table. He looked up. Take Bo with you. Bo cannot ride. Bo cannot stand. Bo is in no condition. Take Bo with you. He will not stay behind. You know he will not. And he is a better shot than you think. The brothers stared at each other. Then Bo's voice came from the chair by the fire. I can ride. Bo, I can ride Ambrose. Give me 10 minutes by the fire. Give me a hot drink. Give me my coat. I can ride. You nearly died once tonight. I will not die twice. Ambrose closed his eyes. He nodded. 10 minutes. Dr. Hadley said I will stay with Mrs. Ravenscroft. Thank you, doctor. Bring your brother home, Mr. Ravenscroft. Bring them both home. Della heard the conversation from upstairs. She heard every word. She lay on her left side, pillows under her hips, hot stones at her feet, the Shakespeare on the nightstand, her hand on the small life in her. She listened to her family preparing to ride out into the dark. She did not weep. She did not call out. She just lay there, listening, breathing, stroking the small mound under her hand. She whispered to the child, your uncles are going out to keep you safe. Your father is going to stay here with us. We have to be very still. We have to be very brave. We have to wait. The child kicked, for the very first time, a small flutter, like a moth wing. Della laughed. She laughed, and the tears came up at the same time. She whispered into the dark, you felt me. You heard me. You are still here. Oh, thank God you are still here. The kick came again. She put both her hands on her belly. She made the child a promise. You will know your uncles. You will know your father. You will grow up on this mountain. I swear it. I swear it on my mother's bones. I swear it on my father's book. I swear it on every breath I take from this night forward. The riders went out. Two brothers, both armed, both grim, both on horses fresh from the barn. The blizzard had thinned at midnight. The wind had dropped. The snow was still coming, but lighter. The moon was a smear behind clouds. Ambrose led, Bo followed. They went down the mountain road 2 miles. Then they cut east, off the road, through the pines. Because Caldwell would come up the road. Because the road was the only way a city man would think to come. Because Ambrose Ravenscroft had not learned warfare in Boston. He had learned it in the lava beds of Tule Lake. He had learned it from a Modoc scout the army had paid to guide them through the high desert. The scout had taught him 3 things: how to walk in snow without leaving tracks, how to wait without moving, how to choose your ground before your enemy ever sees you. You do not meet your enemy where he expects you. You meet him where you expect him. Ambrose found the place a mile down the road, a bend, a drop, pines on both sides. The road narrowed there. A horse could pass, but only single file. He stationed Bo on the uphill side. He took the downhill himself. They waited. Snow falling, owls calling, the horses breathing white clouds. 40 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes. Then the sound of hooves on snow. One horse, moving carefully. Ambrose raised one hand. Bo saw it in the dark. Bo understood. The rider came around the bend. Tall man, Eastern coat, wool scarf, rifle across the saddle bow. He had perhaps 3 seconds to register that there was a man standing in the road. He spent the first second realizing. He spent the second going for his rifle. He spent the third realizing he was already covered. 2 rifles, 2 angles, no way out. Ambrose's voice came across the snow. Drop it, slowly, or I drop you. Caldwell froze. Caldwell was a professional. Caldwell understood crossfire. He dropped the rifle. It hissed into the snow. Step down off the horse. He stepped down. Hands on your head. He put his hands on his head. Ambrose came forward. He walked around the horse. He took the pistol from Caldwell's hip. He took the second pistol from the saddlebag. He took the Bowie knife from the boot. He stepped back. Bo came down off the slope. His face was pale. His grip on the rifle was steady. Ambrose looked at the man in the road. He took his time. Mr. Caldwell, that is my name? Yes, you came up our mountain in a blizzard. I did. You came with 3 weapons. I did. Tell me why. Caldwell smiled, a small smile, almost amused. I came to deliver a message. Mr. Thorne in Boston wishes to speak with Miss Ashbury. He has been concerned about her welfare. Mrs. Ravenscroft, Ambrose said. Pardon, her name is Mrs. Ravenscroft now. You will use it. Mrs. Ravenscroft. Of course. Mr. Thorne sent you with 3 weapons to deliver a message. The roads are dangerous. And he wanted to speak with her in the middle of the night during a snowstorm 6 weeks after she left Boston without forwarding her address. Caldwell did not answer. Ambrose stepped closer. He spoke very quietly. Mr. Caldwell, I am going to give you one chance. I am going to give it to you because I am tired. Because my sister-in-law is upstairs in a bed bleeding from her womb and crying for her father. Because I have not slept in 2 days. Because the child she is carrying is the closest thing to family this mountain will ever give me. So I will give you one chance, and I will only give it once. Caldwell waited. You are going to ride to Sacramento. You are going to find a federal marshal. You are going to deliver a sealed letter from me to that marshal. The letter contains documentation of crimes committed by your employer, Cornelius Thorne. You will then turn yourself in as material witness. You will testify at his trial. And if you ever come within 50 miles of this woman again, or her child, or any of her family, for the rest of your living days, I will find you, and I will end you slowly. Are we clear? Caldwell looked at the man across the snow. He looked at the younger brother on the slope. He looked at the 2 pistols pointed at his chest. He looked at his own weapons in the snow. He said, we are clear. Good. Ambrose lowered the pistol. Slightly, only slightly. You will sleep in our barn tonight, tied to a post. Tomorrow at first light, I will give you the letter, and you will ride to Sacramento with my brother as escort. He will see you onto the train. He will watch you board. And if you get off before Sacramento, my brother will know. Understood. One more thing. Yes. Why did Thorne kill Edmund Ashbury? A long pause. Caldwell wiped snow off his collar. I will not testify to that, he said. I will testify to the carbine fraud. I will testify to the bribes paid to the inquiry. I will not testify to the murder. I do not have first-hand knowledge. What do you know? I know Caldwell said carefully that a man named Pellinger was hired to poison Dr. Ashbury. Slow acting, something that would look like pneumonia. The doctor died in his bed 2 weeks later. Pellinger was paid handsomely and shipped to Argentina. He bought a saloon in Buenos Aires. I have his address. I have the bank records. I have the wire transfer instructions. They are all in a safe deposit box in Boston. Ambrose nodded. You will give us the box number, and the bank, and the key. It is in the breast pocket of my coat. The smaller pocket Ambrose reached. He took out a small brass key, a folded paper. He read the paper. He pocketed both. He looked at Caldwell. Walk. Caldwell walked. Bo and Ambrose walked behind him. The two horses followed. They went home. The trial was in San Francisco, federal court, April of 1884. Della did not attend. She was 8 months pregnant. The doctor had forbidden travel. Theo and Ambrose went down to testify. Bo went as their lawyer. Bo Ravenscroft, 23 years old, tousled hair he had not been able to comb flat, apologizing for nothing in particular when he stood up at the prosecutor's table. He had passed the California bar 3 years prior. He had told no one. He had been admitted to Hastings College of the Law in San Francisco when he was 18. He had attended on a scholarship. He had completed the program in 2 years. He had taken the bar and passed it on the first attempt. He had told no one in his family because he had come home that summer when he was 21 and found Ambrose having a screaming nightmare in the barn and Theo holding his brother through it, and he had thought, "These men carried me. These men raised me when I was a child. I am not leaving them. I am not going to San Francisco to wear a suit and make money while they break their backs on a mountain." So he had hidden the diploma in his trunk. He had taken his license in writing only. He had practiced quietly by mail on small cases for small fees for 2 years. When Theo asked him on the night before they rode for San Francisco, when he had passed the bar, Bo had said, 1881. And Theo had stared at his little brother for a long time. Then he had said, "Bo, yes, you are going to win this case, I know. You are going to put Cornelius Thorne in a federal prison for the rest of his natural life. I am going to try. You are going to win. All right, Bo, yes, I am proud of you." Bo had cried, just briefly. Then he had gone to bed. In the courtroom 3 weeks later, he stood at the prosecutor's table for the closing arguments. He stood in a suit Ambrose had bought him. He stood with a cedar splinter in his thumb that he had not bothered to pull out. He spoke for 40 minutes. He laid out the carbine fraud. He laid out the buried inquiry. He laid out the bribed inspectors. He laid out the documents from Dr. Ashbury hidden in a 40-year-old Shakespeare. He laid out the safe deposit box, the wire transfers, the man named Pellinger in Buenos Aires who had been extradited the month prior and was waiting in a holding cell in San Francisco at that very moment. He pointed at Cornelius Thorne sitting at the defense table in a black suit. This man, Bo, said did not just defraud the United States Army. This man did not just kill soldiers with substandard equipment. This man murdered a witness, a doctor, a father, a man who took an oath to do no harm. He had him poisoned in his own bed in his own home in Boston. Bo paused. He turned to the jury. He did not raise his voice. He said, "My oldest brother fought in the Modoc War. He came home with a hole in his shoulder and a wound in his mind that has never healed. The doctor who treated him on the field, the doctor whose hands closed up the hole in his shoulder, was Edmund Ashbury, the man this defendant murdered." Bo took a breath. "Edmund Ashbury saved my brother's life. Cornelius Thorne ended Edmund Ashbury's. And then this man, this banker, came after Edmund Ashbury's daughter." Bo pointed at Thorne again. "My sister-in-law is at home on a mountain right now. She is carrying my brother's child. She is 23 years old. She has buried both parents. She came west with a carpet bag and a book. And this man sent his agent through a blizzard to take her or kill her because she had her father's papers, because she had her father's truth, because she had the only thing he could not buy." Bo lowered his hand. "Find him guilty, send him to prison, let him die there, and let an old country doctor finally rest." The jury deliberated for 47 minutes. They came back with guilty on all counts. Cornelius Thorne was sentenced to 30 years. He died of a stroke in Folsom Prison 8 months later. Bo wrote to Della from the train. 3 short sentences. Guilty, 30 years. It is over. He came home a week later. She met him on the porch. She did not say anything. She just held him. A long time. Augustus Ashbury Ravenscroft was born on July 14, 1884. He came at dawn, after 14 hours of labor, after Della had bitten through one wooden spoon and bent another. He came small, smaller than they had hoped. He came not breathing. Della heard the silence and she turned her face into the pillow and she made a sound that Theo would not let himself remember in detail for the rest of his life. Ambrose was holding the baby. Ambrose, who had read every page of Edmund Ashbury's old medical book over the winter. Ambrose, who had practiced the chest compressions on a sack of flour, twice a day for 4 months. Ambrose did not panic. Ambrose tilted the baby. He cleared the mouth with his pinky finger. He turned the small body. He breathed 2 careful, warm breaths into the small, wet face. He pressed 2 fingers against the small chest. Once, twice, 3 times, 4, 5. He breathed again. He pressed again. He breathed again. The baby twitched. The baby made a small, indignant sound. The baby screamed. It was the most beautiful sound any of them had ever heard. Ambrose laughed. He laughed like a man. He laughed like a bow. He laughed like a man who had not laughed since 1873. He wrapped the baby in a flannel cloth Beau had stitched himself. He laid the baby on Della's chest. He stepped back. He sat down on the floor. He put his head in his hands. He wept. Theo came to him. Theo knelt. Theo put his arms around his brother. The two of them held each other on the floor of an upstairs bedroom while a small new Ravenscroft cried his first complaints into the morning. Down the hall, Beau Ravenscroft heard the cry. Beau had been pacing for 14 hours. Beau had worn a path in the floorboards. Beau heard the cry. Beau dropped to his knees. Beau crossed himself. Then Beau got up and ran to the bedroom door. He did not knock. He fell through it. He saw his sister-in-law holding her son. He saw his brothers on the floor weeping. He saw the Shakespeare on the nightstand. He saw Edmund Ashbury's medical book open to the page on neonatal resuscitation. Beau said, "He came." Della said, "He came." Beau said, "What is his name?" Della said, "Augustus. We will call him Gus." "Augustus Ashbury Ravenscroft," Beau said. "Gus," Theo said. "Gus." Ambrose said very quietly. "Gus." The baby cried. Outside, the July sun came up over the eastern ridge. The pines were green. The wildflowers were out. The new hen house was full of brown eggs. The corral had 4 horses in it, 3 of them gentled by Della's bare hands. The road from Pine Hollow was clear. The blizzards were over. The war was won. The family was home. The years that followed were the gentle years. Lillian May Ravenscroft was born in 1886. They called her Lily. She had her mother's blonde hair and her father's pale gray eyes. She fell in love with Ambrose first the way babies sometimes do, and refused to be held by anyone else for the first 6 months of her life. Ambrose carried her everywhere. He talked to her in full sentences, the longest sentences he had spoken in years. Beau opened a law office in Pine Hollow in 1887. He worked mostly for free. He defended homesteaders against railroad land grabs. He defended widows against creditors. He defended a laundry owner against a deportation order and won. He married Sarah Patterson in the spring of 1889. She had been waiting for him to ask for 3 years. He apologized 18 times on their wedding night for the delay. She forgave him. Ambrose never married. He built an herb garden behind the house. He started a small practice with Dr. Hadley. He learned every plant on that mountain. He read Edmund Ashbury's medical book until it fell apart. He had a new copy bound with Della's father's paper stitched in. He kept it on his nightstand for the rest of his life. He had his nightmares less and less. By 1890, they came only once or twice a year. By 1900, almost never. Della opened a school in 1890, 1 room, a small white building on the south end of the property. She taught reading and writing. She taught arithmetic. She taught any child who wanted to come free of charge. She taught the girls especially. She used to say, A girl who can read is a girl who can choose. She had two more children. Edmund in 1888, named for her father. Charlotte in 1890, named for Theo's mother. The cabin grew. Theo added a wing for the children, a larger kitchen, a second porch. He kept the old original room where Della had first slept. He kept the door with the brass key. He never replaced it. He used to look at it sometimes and shake his head. Gus grew up tall. Gus grew up like his father, quiet, steady, good with horses. Gus went to medical school in San Francisco when he was 18. He came home a doctor at 26. He took over the practice from old Dr. Hadley when the country doctor finally retired in 1912. Gus delivered hundreds of babies in those mountains. He never lost one in the first year of his practice. He used to say it was because he had been delivered by Ambrose Ravenscroft and trained by Della Ashbury, and what choice did he have? The years passed. The mountain shed its winters and remade itself every spring. The Ravenscroft brothers grew older. Theo's beard went white in his 40s. He cut it short. He kept his pale gray eyes. He still made her coffee every morning. He still set the cup down at her place at the table before she had even come down the stairs. 40 years of small, quiet rituals. None of them ever broken. Ambrose's hair silvered slowly. The scar on his temple faded. He smiled more in his 50s than he had in his entire youth. Lily Ravenscroft, who never married either, lived with him after she came home from teacher's college in 1910. The two of them ran the herb garden in the small clinic together for the rest of his life. Beau practiced law into his 60s. He grew round, he grew bald on top. He laughed louder every year. Sarah outlived him by 12 years. Their three children grew up on the mountain alongside Theo's. The cousins were inseparable. Pine Hollow grew from 274 people to nearly 2,000 by 1910. They built a new church, a second school. A railroad spur came in 1898, then was abandoned in 1904. The mountain reclaimed it. Della aged the way her mother had not been allowed to age, slowly, surrounded by family, with her teeth still in her mouth and her wits still about her, in a daily walk to the corral to feed the descendants of the wild black gelding that had once followed her along a fence. She was always small. She was always slender. Her honey blonde hair turned silver at 50 and white at 60. She read Shakespeare aloud on the porch every Sunday afternoon for 40 years. She lived to see 7 grandchildren. She lived to see the first automobile come up the Pine Hollow Road in 1916. She did not approve. She caught pneumonia in the winter of 1920. She was 60 years old. Theo was 66. He sat with her every hour she was sick. He never left her side except to add wood to the fire. Ambrose came down from his clinic on the 3rd day. He brought every herb he had. He brewed every tea. He held her hand when his brother had to step out. Beau drove up from his law office. He read to her from the same Shakespeare, from Much Ado About Nothing, from the scene where Beatrice and Benedict finally admit what everyone has known all along. Gus, now 36, sat in the doorway and could do nothing because he was the doctor, and he knew there was nothing to do. Della knew she was dying. She was not afraid. She had spent 37 years on this mountain. She had built 4 children. She had raised 7 grandchildren. She had taught 2 generations of mountain girls how to read. She had 3 rings on her hands: gold, copper, juniper. She had no debts to anyone living. On her last night, when the wind was very quiet, she asked Theo to sit beside her on the bed. He sat. He took her hand. She looked up at him. She said, "Theo, yes. Do you remember?" "What?" "The night you put the key on the nightstand?" "I remember. I have been thinking about it. All day. The whole day." "What about it, my love?" She smiled. She was so weak. You said, when you are ready, I will wait, even if it is forever." "Yes, you have waited. I have. And I have been ready. You have. For a long, long time. Yes, she squeezed his hand as hard as she could, which was not very hard at all. Theo Ravenscroft, yes, my secret talent was loving you. He could not speak. She kept going and loving Ambrose and loving Bo and loving the children and loving this mountain. It was my talent. I did not know I had it until I came up that road with my carpet bag and a torn red dress and my mother's book. I did not know I was made for this. Theo bowed his head over her hand. Della, Theo, you were made for this. You were the only one who could have done it. You were the only one. I knew it when you crossed the street that first day. I knew it. I felt it in my chest. Liar, I am not lying. You are lying. I am embellishing slightly. She laughed. It was the smallest, lightest, most beautiful laugh. She said, tell Gus, tell Lily, tell Edmund, tell Charlotte, tell them their mother loved them more than she loved her own breath. Tell them I did not let go. I just got tired. I will tell them. Tell Bo he is the best brother any man ever had. I will. Tell Ambrose. Tell him. My father saw him. My father saw him through. My father would be proud. I will. Theo. Yes, sing me the song. What song? The one. Your mother, the river. So Theo sang, in a voice that had grown deeper and rougher over 40 years. He sang the old song about a river that ran to the sea. He sang the whole song. When he finished, she was still breathing. When he started it again, she was smiling. When he reached the second verse, she was gone. Theo Ravenscroft kept singing. He sang the whole song to the end because his wife had asked him to, because she would have wanted him to finish. Because singing is what mountain men do when there is nothing left to say. He buried her under the apple tree she had loved. He outlived her by 2 years. He died on a warm September evening in 1922, on the porch in his rocking chair, with Gus's hand on his shoulder. Ambrose followed in 1924, in his sleep, in the room he had shared with Della's father's medical book for 40 years. Bo lived until 1937. He wrote a small book in his last years. He called it The Bride Who Came With Nothing and Gave Us Everything. He sold 300 copies. He gave most of them away. The cabin stayed in the family. It stands there still, the same logs Theo had cut as a boy of 15, the same porch, the same lime apple tree, the same wide view of the Sierra Nevada that Della Ashbury Ravenscroft saw the day she stepped down from a wagon with a torn red dress in her mother's book. There is an inscription carved into the porch beam above the front door. The carving is faded now. Many years of mountain sun, but you can still read it. Love is not what we find, it is what we choose to build. One quiet day at a time. Adelaide carved it herself the summer before she died. She told her oldest son she had been thinking about it for 40 years. She told him she finally had it right. Gus carved it for her with her hand on his. The Ravenscroft brothers are buried in the small family plot beside the apple tree. Their wives are beside them. The children who have died are in the row behind. The mountain has held them all. The mountain holds them still. If you stand on that porch at sunset the way the 4 of them used to, if you stand there in the long red light, you can almost hear them. You can almost hear a man pouring coffee for a woman who did not ask for it. You can almost hear a younger brother apologizing for biscuits. You can almost hear a third brother humming an old mountain lullaby to a sleeping niece. You can almost hear a woman from Boston, soft as bell silver, reading Shakespeare to 4 men by the fire. And if you listen very, very carefully, you can almost hear her laugh, a real laugh, from the belly, the kind she lost when she was 19 and found again the day she crossed a dusty street in Pine Hollow, California. The mountain remembers, it remembers everything, and it is in no hurry to let her go.